Hey guys, it's Jack Punkington here, and finally, the studio is done. It's taken a couple weeks, but I have the studio finally completed, essentially. Small housekeeping stuff that I gotta figure out, small stuff I want to put where, but I'm at a point now where I can film in here, I can record in here, so, and I couldn't think of what a better first video to record in the new studio than the studio tour. So this is gonna be a long video, just as a heads up. Anyone who's not ready for that, if you want to click on out, I get it, but this is gonna be probably a longer video, so just a heads up. So what I'm gonna do is I'll start and I will just grab the guitars and I'll move out of the way for the amps. I have a couple amps that are on that side of the room that are out of shot on a different wall, but it'll be easy to just move the camera. So anyway, first things first, every guitar player needs a bass. For recording, for just fiddling around. I am not a bass player. I know some basic stuff that I can use, that I can get a good solid rhythm bass going for recording. So this is a late 60s, early 70s Electra bass. It's made, I believe, in Japan. Yeah, made in Japan. It's a jazz bass copy. It's a Fender jazz bass copy. I inherited this when my great grandma on my dad's side died. It was in their basement, or her basement, I guess I should say. And it needed some work and had to get one of the tuners replaced and the nut repaired, or replaced, not repaired. And I actually sold the case to do that because it came with the matching case, which one of the things I kind of regret is getting rid of that case. I still think it's a pretty cool bass. And yeah, it works. It does what I need it to do. You know, I'm not a bass guy. I don't know a lot about basses. I just know this is really cool, and it does everything I need it to do. Next up, this is actually a guitar that I haven't shown you guys yet, and I was gonna do. I'll do a little, like, an actual video about this guitar, but you know, for those who don't watch that video but watch this, this is the guitar that made me cry. This is a early 2000s Gibson Les Paul Special. I have never put so much money in a piece of equipment than I have in this guitar. I have bought and sold this guitar 3 times. I've had it on the channel before, twice at least. So this is the 3rd time. But in each time I've done it, it's had a new life, essentially. So this was, if you go back in the video, you could find the video. This is the Les Paul Special SL. They had a model with mini trapezoid, and then it's just dots. This is dots. This is actually made on my fiance's birthday, just a couple of years later. And it's a pretty kick-butt guitar. I got it originally, I was in really rough shape, but after a refin, new pickups, and everything, it is pretty cool. But that will get its own video, and I can go into more detail into what's everything in that guitar, but just know that guitar made me cry. So this was one of my dream guitars. This is a 1970s Gibson Explorer. I've had this on the channel a lot. If it was in better shape, this would be the most expensive piece of equipment I've ever owned in my life. But someone routed it out for a Floyd, and I've had tons of different pickups in here. It's got cheap PFA style, like, Epiphone, not even Epiphone, like just off-brand pickups. I plan on replacing them. This is like the next, I think, project I'm going to work on, is getting this guitar up to snuff. I'd like to get this sealed and like wood put in there. I've talked with a couple people about doing it. well, one person. And then I've contacted Sweetwater, and Sweetwater's price was a lot, but we'll see what happens. For now, though, it does work. It plays okay. It plays great. It sounds okay, but better pickups and stuff. So anyway, next we have my newest edition. The unboxing video for this isn't out yet. That's a whole mess trying to save those videos because I've had to do them with my cell phone. This is a 2011 Gibson Melody Maker Les Paul. I say Gibson Melody Maker Les Paul instead of just Melody Maker because it's the Les Paul shape. If you go back about a year and a half, I had the SG version of this same year. This is a awesome bare bones rock machine. This is probably one of my new favorites. I don't know. I picked this up. I got this because I am a huge fan of Green Day, and Billy Joel Armstrong is just one of my biggest inspirations. That's kind of where my name came from, loosely. If you guys want that story, I'd be happy to tell you it, but that would be a whole QA video, which I'd be happy to do. But yeah, just know that part of that comes from Green Day. But it's cool. It's a nice melody maker. It's got the worst bridge design idea. Like, they don't even have a lightning bolt bridge on this. They just have it's essentially just a tailpiece. So I've got a replacement I'm going to put on. But yeah, that thing is awesome. So next we have one of the few that is actually not my guitar. This is one of my fiance's acoustics. It's kind of like a parlor guitar. I pick it up every once in a while to get a different sound. Like I said, this is actually her guitar. I believe she got this for like her 10th birthday, but I could be wrong. She doesn't play. She wants me to teach her, but I'm a really bad teacher, so I don't teach. Next, we have one of the most important guitars to me in my life. This is a 90s American Fender Stratocaster. This is actually my grandfather's. He gave this to me because he wasn't using it anymore. It wasn't a trade, but it was a trade. I gave him a Gibson SG that I wasn't using. And he's like, well, I don't use this, so just take this. Arguably, this is worth way more. Because that SG had stock repair and it had just off-brand pickups. This is... The only thing I've changed on this guitar is the pickguard and the plastics. That's it. Everything else is all original, and I'm never going to mod this guitar besides what I've done, just because I prefer the black. You know, and because if I want a straight up Fender sound, I've got one. I don't need to experiment. I don't need to be like, oh well, you know, I could kind of get close. No, I've got a Fender Strat. I've got the sound that I could go for. I've got it. Next, we have my only acoustic guitar. This was a gift from the same grandfather. I actually call him Frampa because when I was a kid, I actually couldn't say it. I can use F syllables. I just replaced the strings on this today. And it sounds amazing. It's a Washburn. D10 CEM. I don't know what any of that means. But it's a nice acoustic. I learned my first real chords on this. This was the first acoustic guitar I ever played, and one time came that he wasn't using it, he gave it to me, and I've roughed it up for sure. I mean, there's scratches on this thing. There's a chunk. Well, there was a chunk taken on the neck, but it was taken on the neck when I first got it. But yeah, it's electric too. It's acoustic electric, and they do kind of work. It's a little iffy, but whenever I go camping, this is the guitar I take with me. can't put it down because I put new strings and I cleaned and oiled it, and it was needing it too. And I love it. So, next, we have another recent addition. I would call this the oldest recent addition. This is my only Jackson. My weird mishmash of a super shredder with classic pickups. This is a Jackson JS22. It's not a 32. The 32s have Floyds, I believe, or it is a 32 and it doesn't have a Floyd. I don't know. It's awesome. It's a cool mahogany finish that someone did. I bought it from my buddy Chris, who is a really good guy, and I slapped in some P90 pickups. I haven't shown this off yet. But yeah, these are humbucker-sized P90s. They're from Guitar Madness. And you want to talk about the thickest tone, you put this in with a fuzz pedal, and you get the thickest tone. This thing sounds great. I can't wait to do a little video on that. The next guitar we have is my workhorse, I would call. This guitar is the... It's the weirdest thing I've owned, but it's the most important thing I own, I think, or at least one of. This was the first thing my fiance, I think, ever bought for me, in terms of like gifts. And she paid $50 for this guitar. This is a Schecter Tempest custom that someone destroyed on stage. They had it repaired, and it works. I've spent a lot of time on this guitar. I had the pickups replaced. It now has a Schecter has a Seymour Duncan hot rod set that is coil splittable, so I can split the coil and get a single coil tone. And this thing stays in tune. As you can see, I've covered it in stickers that are all coffee related. This guitar's name is actually Coffee. You can see how much I have played this guitar because on the cappuccino you can see it's worn off just from play. This thing is amazing, and I was very happy when I finally got the pickups put in. It was something that I had been needing to do for a very long time. It has a dollar in the tailpiece bridge area, because when I got it done, my buddy said it was $64 and I had $65, and I was like, just keep the change, I don't care. And he's like, no, I'm gonna give you $1. So he threw the dollar in there. He stuffed it in. I'm like, well, that's just staying there now because this is not gonna change. And yeah, so this guitar, as you can see, it has had a very rough life, but it's got a new life with me. So next is another one of my fiance's guitars. This is actually a gift I got her. This is a Epiphone standard that has a DiMarzio tone zone on the bridge. My first introduction to DiMarzio pickups, and a welcomed one because it sounds amazing. It's a beautiful blue. It doesn't get played a lot. I try to pick it up and play it every once in a while. It is a good guitar. I mean, this is made in Korea, so this wasn't a Chinese made Epiphone. I think this is right when they swapped over to Korea. So it's a cool guitar. It just doesn't get played a lot. The next guitar we have here is another one that I haven't shown off to you guys in a while, or well, I guess in a while, but yeah. So a couple videos ago, it might have been the last video, I can't remember. I did the $40 guitar I picked up on vacation during Memorial Day. Well, yesterday after I got the studio done, I put this together. I had more plans for this guitar, but time bearing, I couldn't do what I wanted. However, it worked out great. This is a monster. Its name is Old Rusty. And yeah, so what we've got is we've got a SX Vintage Series that I paid $40 for and probably put about $200 worth of parts in. So this will get a little update video on its own, but just know this thing is probably as good as any made in Mexico Fender now. The next guitar I have is the Ragecaster, I did a video at the beginning of the year on this, I believe. This thing is cool. It has a Fender Strat neck, but it's not a Fender guitar. The only thing that's Fender is this neck. I plan on getting new pickups on this thing because the electronics are okay, but yeah, this is another sticker guitar. This is actually based off of the guitar that Tom Morello, another one of my guitar heroes, has that he used besides Soul Power. He used this for drop D tuning, was his Telecaster. He used it in Rage and in Audio Slave. But yeah, this thing is great. When I want something that's a wall of sound guitar, this is a wall of sound, or it gets super chimey. So next, we're running out of guitars. This is my great-grandfather's K Imperial, or it's like, I think it's either the Imperial 2 or it's like the Custom 2. This is a really cool K guitar. It has had a rough life. It needs a lot of work. So first of all, you can see the pickguard's very broken. I have taken it apart, put it back together multiple times. The pickups, essentially what this guitar needs is someone who's a lot smarter than me to go through and individually unsolder everything and then resolder it and restore it. I don't plan on ever getting rid of this guitar because I inherited it, but it is a really cool sounding guitar. What I'd like to do is buy pickguard material and just cut one myself to replace this pickguard because it is so broken. I've tried super glue, tape, obviously, and none of it works. So I plan on eventually just replacing the pickguard. That's the only piece on here that I will replace. I don't plan on replacing really anything else. So next is the last of my fiance's guitars. And when I went over to her house for the first time before she moved in, this is the first thing I gravitated towards. You know, you go to a new place and you're a little uneasy. And I saw this and I was like, oh, cool guitar. So this is a Fender Strat acoustic. This is the cheaper ones they made in the early 2000s, not the super expensive ones that they have now. But it's a weird acoustic electric. It's in rough shape. It needs new strings. It needs to be cleaned. And it's fun, you know, like, and the electronics are barely hanging on in there, but, you know, it's a cool piece of gear. I like it, and it's weird because the back is plastic. Like, this is all plastic, and a lot of people hated those, so that's why they remade them and redesigned them. But I think this is a cool guitar. It has a little bit of sentimental value to me, not just because it's my fiance's, but because when me and my friend Justin, we would, back in high school, go on spring break. Living in Michigan, you know, there's a lot of cool places to go to on vacation. For me, it was Traverse City. It's a beautiful city that I love. And if it wasn't for the fact that it gets probably 10 times the amount of snow I get here in lower Michigan, I would probably move up to Traverse City because it's such a great scene. The food there is amazing. It's a great place to be. And his first guitar was this guitar, like this kind, but it was orange, and it was a terrible guitar. And it was terrible because the neck was warped, and he never got it fixed. So the last guitar I really have, I've got a couple like mini, like cheap acoustics that are just in the closet that aren't really worth talking about. But the last guitar I have is that Epiphone Special 2 that I mod project. It's kind of on hold right now. The reason why it's on hold is because I don't own a working drill, and all the tuner pegs have to be drilled out for me to put in better tuners. So next we are on to amps. So as you can see, we've got quite a few. So let me move out of the shot. Okay, I'll move this way. So first thing, I've got this little battery-powered orange amp. This is a Orange Crush Mini 3. It has a external speaker cab. This thing actually sounds decent. I like it a lot. It's a fun little test ramp whenever I'm putting something together, and I have to make sure it works. I plug it through this, and then we'll go through a big boy. Next, we have the Orange Rocker 15 Terror. I haven't done a review of this, and I am sorry. A lot of stuff kind of happened all at once. So I had a Orange Tiny Terror a little while ago, and I sold it because I wanted to buy this amp. And I love this thing. If I had to sell every other amp I own, I would keep this one. So next, underneath, speaking of selling, I'd never sell this. This was actually a gift from my buddy Chris, the one I bought the Jackson from. It is a Marshall VS100. It has a issue with a ground. I don't know where it is. I'm not an amp tech. I don't know how to fix amps. If I did, I have another amp that's not in this room that may be going back to the seller that I would just fix myself, but that has a completely different issue. Anyway, this thing is cool. It does sound really good. It just has a lot of feedback. I plan on getting it repaired at some point because it's an awesome hybrid amp. It has a 12AX7 in the preamp, but it's a solid state power amp. Below it, we have the PV Butcher 100 or 120. I'm not sure which, but it sounds great. It's a GCM 800 that PV made, and it has 6L6s. It's going to get modded. I actually was going to sell it because of the amp that I now have to return probably, but I'm decided after that whole situation that I was not ever going to sell this amp. I was originally not going to, and I was kind of on the fence about it, but it's just so dependable. It doesn't give me any guff. It doesn't give me any trouble, and it sounds pretty okay. It's a good mid-gain amp. It's great for pedals, but I wanted to have some more gain and saturation, so we're going to get it modded. For cabinets, I am actually going to start doing the camera move, so be prepared. We have a Crate V212. This 212, I did not like the speakers in it. They're okay, but I preferred the Marshall cab, which is right there. And so I swapped the speakers. So now this has Celestion 7080s, and over there has two Crate V12-inch speakers, I believe is what they're called. This thing is heavy duty. I liked it because it was a bigger enclosure than my homemade 212 cab, and it was really cheap. And now that it has Celestions in it, it sounds really good. Of course, over there we have the Marshall 212, which I basically just swapped the speakers. It's okay. It gets the job done. If I didn't have anything else, I'd be fine with it. Above it, if you guys can see, there we go. I have a PV112 that I picked up, that and the Orange Up on the same day. And yeah, it's a good 1x12 cab. It's probably either loaded with a Sheffield or it's loaded with a blue, Blue Marble. I don't know which. I don't care. It sounds okay, and it does what I need it to do. So, excuse me. So we got a couple more amps that are on the other side of the room. So we're just gonna move the camera. Sorry about that. So over there, that is a Crate Crate Club 50. It is all tube and it is amazing. It is now my new favorite Crate amp. I was a huge fan of the Blue Voodoo. I still am. I think this sounds better because a Blue Voodoo, the gain channel is good, but it can get really messy. This is tight. It has the potential to do metal, but it doesn't need to. You throw an overdrive on there, you have no problem doing metal. The clean channel is amazing, and it has a dual reverb control. So I can have high reverb on the cleans and low reverb on the gains, or vice versa. And it's two two 12-inch speakers, and it's heavy. It's very heavy. I picked this up on the same trip that I picked up the Parts Old Rusty guitar. I was actually on the way out of town when I picked this up. I traded the Samick Flying V for it because I honestly, I'm over Flying Vs at this point. I just can't find one that is comfortable playing, and I've given up on them. Maybe someday I'll get a Gibson V, but right now I don't care. So, and this thing is way better. Below it, we have a Crate KB80. So, a long time ago, in my very first full band that actually did something, which was Beautiful Broken Hearts. There is a YouTube channel. It's spelled differently. It's like The Broken Hearts 1000. I don't recommend looking it up. If you look it up, you have been warned. The music is terrible, the camera work is horrible, and the sound quality is worse than both of us. It was a band that was in my old bedroom with me, another guitar player slash singer who just basically stuck to singing after a little bit, and a drummer who unfortunately no longer plays drums. I wish he did, because he was one of the best drummers I've ever heard in my life. And we actually recorded a little album, but that turned into another band when the singer quit. And yeah, but this is a long way of saying these amps are great PA amps. I had a PV KB100, and it was the same thing. It's a 15-inch speaker, and it has 4 outputs, and it does guitar, bass, keyboard, accordion, or vocals. I use it for vocals and bass, and it sounds fantastic. And then below that, as you can see, we have a couple other little mini amps. Let me just run through them really fast. So Chris, this was his very first guitar amp. It is a Spectrum guitar amp. He has a Spectrum guitar that he's modded the crap out of and basically turned into a Dave Murray signature, and it sounds and plays great. But this was his amp that came with that guitar. He didn't want it anymore. And I like little guitar amps because you can take the crappy speaker out and make them sound really good. And this actually has a couple other issues, but it's just a nice little memento. So I don't ever plan on getting rid of it. Next, I think I did a video on this amp too. This is a little custom, what is it, the model's KLA Lead Amp 10. This is a little garage sale amp my grandma picked up for $5, I think. And she's like, hey, it's a present. And I was like, cool. And it actually sounds pretty decent. I have hooked it up to a cab, and it sounds good. You know, I mean, for what it is. And then we have this PV, what is it, Encore 110, NV 110. So this is a 1x10 combo, and it sounds amazing. I have to put it down because it's actually pretty heavy for a little enclosed. I paid $30 for this. Someone had this on Craigslist for $50, and I said, no, they had it for sale for $20, that's right. And I said, I'll give you $30 if you drive to my work at the time, because I was working a late shift. And they're like, okay, and they did. And it's got, ironically, this has, I think the clean channel is dirty, and then there's a PV Rage right there, and the gain channel is dirty, but they both sound amazing. When I say dirty, the pots are very dirty, and I've tried cleaning them. I just need someone to actually go through it, but at the same time, it's like, this was $20, this was $30. Is it really worth to have someone pay $65 to have someone go through this and clean it? Not really. So I just use them. I actually bought this for my father because when he started picking up guitars, he didn't have an amp, and I was like, well, these are really good amps. So, you know, for beginners back in like the 80s and 90s, these, I wish I could have gotten a Bandit, but for, you know, he liked it, and he eventually picked up a Spark that he likes. So that's, I got this back. So anyway, that's essentially my studio tour. My pedal board has not really changed since my pedal board video. Let me move the camera. I'll grab it. I've changed one pedal on it. Hold on. Everything's Velcro, but at the same time, I don't know if that'll stay if I pick it up. Hold on. So hope and pray this actually stays. But here's my pedal board. It's a little dirty. I don't know why dust just collects so fast. But anyway. So we have the tuner pedal, which is a Donner tuner pedal. A lot of my older pedals that I've had were Donner. I love Donner. Going into a actual TS9 that I picked up and I love, that goes into this Electro Harmonics Classic Big Muff. Maybe one of the pedals would fall. That Big Muff goes into a Joyo analog delay, which then goes into, I don't know what brand this is. It's like C Nano. I don't know. It's a chorus pedal, and it sounds good. Which goes into an MXR Phase 90, into a Donner Noise Killer, noise gate, into a Morley, was it like Bad something? Bad Horsey wah pedal. And it's all powered by a Donner power supply, which works pretty well. And they do what I need them to do. They sound great, and I love them. So that's basically my studio. I don't have a lot in terms of computer stuff, and what I mean by that is a like computer setup to where recording. I just run a Focusrite Studio 2i2 into my Dell computer, and that's about it. And I haven't done any recording in probably a year, so I can't necessarily like go into detail with that because, and I've lost all of my recordings because I had to reset my computer. I have to re-download Reaper, but I'm right now, after I get this whole situation with the amp I ordered figured out, received, damaged, figured out, I am going to save up for a torpedo, 2 notes torpedo capture, so I can basically use all of my amps to their fullest limit and get better recordings. I'd like to be able to do stuff like song covers. I'm working on trying to get my voice back. I used to be somewhat of a singer, not a whole perfect singer, but you know, somewhat. And I'd like to be back in that spot where it's like I can sing again and I can play guitar again. Kind of been in a bad spot lately. Last couple days have been kind of rough on me. So I'm trying to force myself to have the motivation to keep going. And yeah. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the studio tour. Obviously the videos, the pieces of gear that you haven't seen videos for, I have videos planned. It's just now I am in a situation where I can do those videos. And yeah, so if you guys, I'll let you know what the amp is. I didn't want to include it in showing you the studio tour because it's not, it's either A, what I'm going to try and work out with the seller, because one of the channels doesn't work and it was not packaged well in shipping. So it was definitely damaged in shipping. And so either A, I'm going to take it to my amp tech, who is a really good guy. He works for Metropolis Amps. And he's going to repair it, and then they're going to just foot the bill. Or I'm just going to return it. It's a Mesa Nomad 55. I've been wanting another Mesa for a while. And if I just return it, I just return it, and I will just end up buying. He actually has a Carvin amp that's kind of like a Mesa clone for sale, and I flirted with the idea of if I return that, I'll just buy that amp, even though it's a combo. But anyway, I wanted to finally do this studio tour. I know you guys have been asking for it, and it's been delayed a lot because of this. But the other thing I wanted to talk about with this is I kind of, when I started recording and when I started practicing and learning guitar, I was at my family's house. I was in my bedroom, which was the upstairs. And now I'm upstairs in a very similar bedroom at my house, although this bedroom is smaller, a lot smaller. Also behind me, I forgot to mention, is my closet with all like my cases and stuff. But yeah, anyway. So I kind of feel like it's a return to roots for me, because it's like, oh, I'm back in a bedroom setting, and I can start back where I started, and that might help. Now that I'm in a better spot with a job, and I actually have most of the time weekends off, I'm trying very hard to be in a band. I really want to get out there. I want to play shows. And yeah, so if anybody who lives in Michigan near the Flint or Lansing area, I live about 30 minutes outside of both of those towns, and am more than willing to drive to play some good punk or rock or heavy rock music, maybe metal, but I'm not the best metal player. So yeah, look me up. Leave a comment. I'd be happy to message you and work something out. So anyway, guys, I know this has been a long video. If you guys stuck through with me, I really appreciate you guys sticking through. Check out my Twitter, and I haven't really posted there a lot later either, but I got a couple poll ideas I want to post there, so I want your guys' input. So anyway, guys, this is Jack Punkington signing out. Peace.